My husband came home excited. I bought us a romantic cottage on the Volga River. Surprise. I cried from happiness. A month later, I came to surprise him and arrange a romantic weekend. When the door opened, my heart stopped. The October wind carried the sharp smell of the Volga through the streets of Samara when Yanis Kolyakov came home with news that would destroy everything. Violetta Kolyakova was standing in the kitchen of their apartment on Leningrad Street in the historic heart of Samara, where merchant houses from the 19th century stood shoulder to shoulder with modern shops. From the window she could see the golden domes of the Holy Trinity Cathedral catching the last light of the autumn day. She was cooking pelmeni, small dumplings with beef and pork, using her grandmother's recipe, the one that always filled their home with the aroma of comfort and love. The door burst open. "Violetta, where are you?" She wiped her hands on her apron and went into the living room. Her husband was standing there, 41 years old. His cheeks were flushed from the cold and something else, pure, boyish excitement. Yanis Kolyakov worked as a supply manager in a construction company, a solid man with calm habits and a smile that made her fall in love with him 18 years ago. "What happened?" Violetta asked. Her 38-year-old eyes studied his face. "You look like a child on New Year's morning." Yanis crossed the room in 3 long steps, lifted her off the floor, spun her once, and set her down again. "I did something, my sunshine. Something wonderful." "What did you do?" He reached into his jacket and pulled out a thick folder of papers. "I bought us a house, a real cottage on the Volga, our own piece of paradise." Violetta covered her face with her hands. For years they had talked about it, dreamed about it. A place to escape the city, watch the great river flow, plant flowers, and drink tea on a wooden veranda while their children, Timofey, 14, and Elizaveta, 11, played among the birch trees. But money was always needed, and the dream remained just a dream. "Are you serious?" Her voice broke into a whisper. Yanis spread the documents across the kitchen table, the purchase contract, land plans, photographs. The cottage stood among white birch trees. Its blue shutters stood out brightly against the weathered gray wood, and behind it the Volga stretched wide and silver. The river that Russians call the Mother, which for centuries carried merchants and warriors. "I closed the deal this morning," Yanis said, pride filling his voice. 250,000 rubles. "It needs some work, but we'll manage. I'll go on weekends and fix it up. By spring we'll have our own paradise." Violetta cried. She couldn't hold it back. She wrapped her arms around her husband's neck and held him tightly. Her tears soaked into his wool coat. "I can't believe it. After all these years of dreaming." "Our dream, my dear," he kissed the top of her head. "Our dream is coming true." That evening they called Violetta's mother, Lilia Belitsina, who lived nearby in Tolyatti. Lilia was 64. She was a retired teacher with a sharp gaze and an even sharper intuition that never failed her. "A cottage?" Lilia's voice carried concern even through the phone. "Just like that? He bought it without even showing you?" "Mom, it's beautiful. He showed me photos." "Photos can lie, Violetta. Mom, please, just be happy for us." A pause. "I am happy for you, daughter. I just want you to be careful. Men and surprises, sometimes a surprise turns out to be not what you think." But Violetta brushed off her mother's warning. She was too happy, too full of hope. She watched Yanis playing chess with little Timofey at the kitchen table, and her heart overflowed with love for the man she had spent 18 years with, and now this dream too. On the very first weekend after the announcement, Yanis loaded his old Lada Niva with tools and supplies. "I'll be back Sunday evening," he said, kissing her at the door. "Don't wait up. I want to work on the windows." Violetta stood at the window and watched him leave, her heart full of love and gratitude. On Sunday evening he returned exhausted. His clothes smelled of campfire smoke and river freshness. "The place is solid," he reported. "Needs new windows, some floorboards. I met a neighbor, an old man named Timofey Orshin. He's lived there 40 years. He said he'll help with the roof. That's wonderful, darling. The second weekend was the same. And the third. And the fourth. October turned into November. The first snow fell in Samara, covering the cathedral domes in white. Yanis came home every Sunday with the same story. The cottage was being fixed up, spring would be perfect, their first summer there would be magical. He sent her photos on his phone, new windows installed, fresh paint on the walls, a beautiful wood stove, a porch with new railings. Violetta offered to come. I could help paint, clean, cook you lunch. The kids want to see it too. No, Yanis waved it off. It's too cold, uncomfortable. No water yet. The kids will freeze. Wait until spring, my love. Then we'll all go together. I want everything to be perfect for you. And she waited. In December, Yanis mentioned the neighbor again. Timothy Orshan is a good man. His wife died 6 years ago. He's lonely. I sometimes drink tea with him. He tells amazing stories about life on the Volga. That's kind of you, Violetta said. He has a niece, Yanis added casually. She visits sometimes. A young woman helps around the house. She brought us pies last weekend. She cooks very well. Violetta didn't think much of it. In January, Yanis came with another piece of news. I met a village craftsman, Eric Talnikov. He can help with the roof in spring. Reasonable price. Great. February passed. March brought the first thaw. The Volga ice began to crack and shift, and Violetta still had not seen the cottage. Next month, Yanis promised. April. The snow will melt. I'll take you there on our anniversary. April 15th, 20 years since we met, my sunshine. We'll celebrate in our cottage. Violetta circled the date on the calendar. She could hardly wait. It was Lilia who first said out loud what Violetta refused to notice. You still haven't seen that dacha, her mother said during a visit at the end of March. They were sitting in Violetta's kitchen, drinking tea from porcelain cups. It's been 6 months. He goes there every weekend, and you've never gone with him. He's working on it, Mom. He wants everything to be perfect. Working on it. Lilia's lips pressed into a thin line. Violetta, when your father built our dacha, I was there every weekend. We worked together, in snow and in mud. That's what couples do. That's what love is. Violetta felt a sting of something, maybe doubt, maybe fear. I'm not being replaced. He just wants to surprise me. My daughter, I'm not trying to upset you. But a man who loves his wife wants her close, even in cold, even without comfort. He wants to share the work, the struggle, the progress, not just present a finished product like a store-bought gift. That night Violetta couldn't sleep. Her mother's words kept turning in her mind. She thought about how Yanis's phone now always lay face down. How he went into the hallway to take calls. How he stopped looking her in the eyes when he spoke about the dacha. No, she told herself. That's my husband. 18 years together. 2 wonderful children. I trust him. But trust, as she was about to learn, is a fragile thing. The next morning she called her best friend, Karina Ladasheva. Karina, can we meet for coffee? Of course. What happened? Nothing. I just need to talk. They met in a small cafe on Kuibyshev Street, near the embankment. The Volga was still frozen, but men were already drilling holes for ice fishing. Violetta told her everything, about the dacha, the weekends, the photos, her mother's words. Karina listened carefully, her dark eyes fixed on Violetta's face. When Violetta finished, Karina leaned forward. Did you see the contract? The actual papers? He showed them. I didn't look closely. Find them. Look at them. If everything is fine, you'll feel better. And if something isn't right. She didn't finish the sentence. That evening, while Yanis was at the dacha, Violetta searched the house. She found the folder in his desk drawer, exactly where he had left it months ago. She opened it. The contract was there. Land plan. Photos. But one thing struck her like thunder in a clear sky. The contract was not in Yanis's name. It was in the name of Amira's Verena. Violetta stared at the name. She didn't know any Amira's Verena. Who was this woman? The contract was dated October 15, 2 weeks after Yanis had excitedly told her about the purchase. Then she noticed something else, a small piece of paper tucked behind the contract. A receipt from a hardware store in the village of Rozdestveno, across the Volga from Samara, dated November 20th. It listed new locks, 3 sets, paid in cash. New locks for the cottage her husband supposedly bought, in another woman's name. Violetta's hands trembled as she put everything back exactly where she found it. That night she didn't sleep. Friday morning, April 4th. Yanis was packing the car as usual. Sunday evening, he said, kissing her goodbye. I love you. I love you too, Violetta replied. Her voice was steady, even though everything inside her was a storm. She waited exactly 1 hour, then called Karina. I need your car. And don't tell anyone. Karina arrived 30 minutes later in her husband's freshly washed Lada Granta. Where are we going? I'm going alone. But thank you. I'll call you, I promise. The drive took 50 minutes. Across the bridge over the Volga, the river stretched endlessly, moving ice and dark water. Then to the village of Rozdestveno. From there, the road followed the river north, past closed winter dachas and birch forests still holding patches of snow. The address from the contract led to a cottage beyond the village of Podgeri, where the Volga bent and cliffs rose above the water. Violetta's heart pounded as she drove. The road narrowed into a dirt path through the trees. And then she saw it. The cottage from the photos. Blue shutters. Birch trees. A porch with new railings. Smoke rising from the chimney, curling into the gray April sky like a question mark. Behind it, the Volga stretched wide and endless. Ice broke into massive jagged plates, drifting slowly south. The sound of the river, deep, groaning cracks and soft flowing whispers, filled the cold air. Yanis's Lada Niva was parked outside. The hood was still warm. Violetta parked behind it, turned off the engine, and sat for a long moment. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. She had come this far. She wouldn't turn back. She stepped out. The air hit her face, cold, clean, smelling of birch, river, and smoke. Exactly as she had imagined it. Exactly as she had dreamed. She walked to the door. Her boots crunched on patches of old snow. She reached into her pocket for the key Yanis had given her 6 months ago, the key to their dream, their paradise. She inserted it into the lock. It didn't turn. She tried again. Nothing. The key scraped uselessly against metal. The lock had been changed. In the window she saw movement. A shadow crossing the room. A figure. Then the door opened. On the threshold stood a young woman, around 25 to 26. She wore a man's flannel shirt, Yanis's blue-black shirt that Violetta had bought him 2 years ago for Christmas. The one she had carefully wrapped and placed under the tree. It hung loosely on the woman's slender frame, unbuttoned at the collar, revealing a thin gold chain. Her dark hair fell in waves past her shoulders, slightly damp as if from a recent shower. Her face was beautiful, sharp, composed features, high cheekbones, full lips, honey-colored eyes that seemed to take everything in at once. Behind her, Violetta could see inside the house. A fire crackled in the stove, the same black stove from the photos. On the kitchen table stood 2 plates with half-eaten eggs, 2 cups of tea, and a small vase of early spring flowers. A woman's jacket hung by the door. Below it stood women's boots. Can I help you? The woman asked. Her voice was calm, unhurried, as if she had all the time in the world. Violetta found the strength to speak. I'm looking for Yanis. The woman's eyes slid over Violetta, her elegant coat, her city boots, her face frozen in anticipation of understanding. A slow smile spread across her lips. Not cruel, no, more like recognition. Oh, she said. You must be the wife. The world tilted. The Volga kept flowing. Smoke kept rising, but something inside Violetta cracked, like river ice breaking under pressure. I'm Amira. The woman extended her hand, as if they were meeting at a party, as if this were a normal introduction between strangers. Amira's Verena. He hasn't told me much about you. Come in, please. Don't stand in the cold. Violetta didn't move. Her arm hung still at her side. Where is my husband? Inside. Amira's smile widened slightly. We were just having breakfast. He's in the shower, actually. Give him 5 minutes. She stepped back, opening the door wider. Come in, really. It's time we properly met. I've been thinking about you for 2 years. 2 years. The word hung in the air between them. Violetta's legs moved forward without her permission. She stepped over the threshold of her dream, into her nightmare. The door closed behind her with a soft click. Inside, it was warm. A wood stove cracked in the corner. The smell of eggs and bacon filled the air. Yanis sat at a small wooden table. A cup of tea frozen halfway to his lips. He looked like a photograph. His face went white when he saw Violetta. Violetta? He stood up, knocking the chair over. What, how are you here? The contract was in your desk, Violetta said. Her voice was calm, colder than the Volga outside. I saw Amira's Verena's name. I saw the receipt for the locks. Amira walked past her, took Yanis by the hand, and gently pushed him back into the chair. Sit, darling. No point hiding now. Yanis looked at Amira, then at Violetta. His mouth opened and closed like a fish. Let me help, Amira said brightly. Yanis and I have been together for 2 years. We met at a construction exhibition in Kazan. He told me he was divorced. I believed him. Stupid of me. 2 years, Violetta whispered. You knew about me? Now I do. Amira shrugged. He told me last month, when he realized you might come here. He said you were unstable. That you'd cause a scene. He changed the locks so you couldn't enter. She was still holding Yanis's hand. I didn't ask questions. Love makes you stupid. Violetta looked at her husband. 18 years of marriage. Shared meals. Shared dreams. Whispered promises. Quiet mornings. 2 children. A whole life. Why? Her voice barely came out. Why? I didn't plan this, Yanis said weakly. It just happened. I love her, Violetta. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The word felt like ashes. Amira stood, went to a small desk in the corner, and returned with a folder. Since we're being honest, she said, handing it to Violetta. Inside were bank statements, transfers. Over the last 18 months, Yanis had transferred money from their joint account, Violetta's savings, the children's education money, money her mother had given them for emergencies. 90,000 rubles, sent to Amira's account. For repairs, Amira said. He told me it was his money. His savings. He said we were building our future together. Violetta turned the pages. The cottage, registered only in Amira's name. Dated October 15th. 2 weeks after Yanis had excitedly told Violetta about it. Another document. A receipt. Amira had paid 50,000 rubles of her own money for repairs. He took our money, Violetta said slowly. 90,000 rubles. And you added 50,000 of your own. So together you bought a cottage that is only in your name. Amira's smile faded slightly. That's what the papers show. What does it mean, Violetta continued, is that if he leaves me, he has nothing. And if you leave him, you have everything, the house, your money, his money. Everything. Amira looked at Yanis. Yanis stared at the floor. I didn't think about it, Amira said quietly. No, Violetta said. You didn't. The door opened. Yanis's friend, Eric Talnikov, walked in carrying a toolbox. He froze. What's going on? Yanis grabbed the moment. Eric, tell her. Tell her I worked here every weekend. Tell her I fixed everything. Eric looked at Violetta. Then at Amira. Then at Yanis. I don't know what to tell you, he said. I was here twice. Just to drink beer. You didn't do any work since November. The truth hit like a. Show me your phone, Violetta said to Yanis. No. Show me your phone, or I call the police right now and report stolen money. Yanis didn't move. Then he slowly took his phone out of his pocket and handed it to her. Violetta scrolled through the messages. 2 years of conversations. Photos of Yanis and Amira in the cottage. The same renovation photos he had been sending Violetta, but with Amira in the background, or reflected in windows, or holding the camera while he pretended to work. Text messages. I can't wait for her to disappear from the picture. Then we'll finally be together. She doesn't suspect anything. Just a few more months. When I divorce her, I'll lose half. But the cottage is safe, it's in your name. When it's over, we'll be free. You, me, and this cottage forever. Violetta read every line. Her face showed nothing. She found photos of Amira wearing her husband's shirts. Sleeping in the bed that was supposed to be hers. Cooking in the kitchen that was supposed to be hers. She handed the phone back. You said, Violetta stopped. You told Amira I was dead? Yanis didn't answer. She asked me, Amira said quietly. She asked if you were really his ex-wife who refused to accept the divorce. He said yes. He said you were dead to him for years already. Violetta looked at the young woman, barely older than some of her students at the university where she worked part-time. He lied to you the same way he lied to me. Amira's eyes filled with tears. I know. Violetta drove back to Samara in silence. The city looked different. The golden domes, the wide streets, the Volga embankment where she had walked with Yanis 1,000 times, everything felt poisoned now. That night she called her mother. Lilia arrived the next morning with a lawyer, Robert Ladyshev, Karina's cousin. A thin man with wireframe glasses and a mind like a steel trap. He examined the photos Violetta had taken. Fraud, Robert said. Theft. He used joint marital funds to buy property and registered it under another woman's name. That's illegal. And the cottage, since it was bought with shared funds, you have rights to it. Even if it's registered to her. We can freeze the property. And we will. 3 days later, Violetta called Amira. We need to meet. Alone. They met at a cafe on the embankment. The Volga was now fully free of ice, dark water rushing south. I have a lawyer, Violetta said. He says we can both fight. Amira looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. I didn't sleep, she said. I trusted him. I gave him my money. I believed everything. He's very good at making people believe him. They talked for 2 hours, comparing notes, timelines, messages. Slowly, the full picture formed. Yanis had told Amira that Violetta was a crazy ex-wife refusing to sign divorce papers. He had told Violetta that the cottage was a gift for their marriage. Same lies. Different packaging. By the end, they had a folder of evidence, messages, photos, bank records, witness testimony from Eric Talnikov. Together, said Robert Ladyshev when they handed him the file, you have everything to destroy him. April 15th, the day Yanis promised to bring Violetta to the cottage for their anniversary. Instead, Violetta called him. Bring Amira too. Let's meet at the cottage at noon. We'll settle everything. Yanis didn't argue. Violetta hung up. At noon, she arrived at the cottage with Robert Ladyshev and Eric Talnikov, who agreed to testify. Amira was already there, standing on the porch, arms wrapped around herself against the cold river wind. Yanis arrived 5 minutes later. He stepped out of the car, saw the group, and froze. What is this? This is justice, Violetta said. They went inside. Robert laid the documents on the table, the contract, bank transfers, photos, statements, witness testimony. You have 2 choices, Robert said. Option 1, we go to court. The evidence is undeniable. You are facing criminal charges for fraud and theft. You will lose your job. You will likely go to prison. And the cottage will be seized and sold. The proceeds will go to Mrs. Kolyakova. Yanis stared at the papers. Option 2, the lawyer continued. You signed this agreement now. The cottage is fully transferred to Mrs. Farina. It is already registered in her name, so this is simple. You pay Mrs. Kolyakova 120,000 rubles as compensation, 60 now, 60 within a year. You waive all rights to the shared apartment, agree to an uncontested divorce, and leave with nothing except your car and clothes. Yanis looked at Amira. Darling, tell them. Amira shook her head. Don't call me that. I read the messages. I know what you said about me, how I was useful and young and naive. Yanis's face turned gray. Sign it, Violetta said. He signed. The divorce was finalized in July, when the Volga shimmered under summer sunlight and the birch trees around the cottage were thick with green leaves. Yanis moved into a small apartment in an industrial district of Samara. He kept his job somehow, but his reputation was destroyed. Everyone knew. Everyone talked. Amira kept the cottage. She lived there alone, repairing it with her own hands, learning to love solitude and the sound of the river. And Violetta? Violetta stayed in the apartment on Leningrad Street. She planted flowers on the balcony. She walked along the embankment in the evenings, watching the sunset paint the Volga in gold and pink. The children, Timofey, now 15, and Elizaveta, 12, adjusted slowly. They saw their father every second weekend at a small cafe, never at his apartment. The meetings were awkward, strained. But they had their mother and grandmother Lilia, and a warm kitchen where dumplings still boiled on the stove. In August, Violetta's phone rang. It was Amira. I wanted to invite you, Amira said. For tea. If you'd like to come. Violetta paused. Why? Because you are the only person in the world who truly understands what he did, what he took from both of us. I thought maybe we could be friends. Or at least not enemies. Violetta thought for a long moment. Saturday, she said. Saturday is perfect. That Saturday, Violetta went to the cottage. Amira met her on the porch. They sat at a small table by the window, looking out at the Volga, drinking tea from porcelain cups. He wanted this to be his paradise, Amira said. His escape. His secret. Violetta nodded. Instead, it's ours. They laughed. It was a strange sound, born from pain, healing, and the odd bond between 2 women deceived by the same man. He paid me the money, Violetta said. Compensation. I got it last week. Good. What will you do with it? I'll take the children to St. Petersburg. They've never seen the Hermitage. That sounds wonderful. They sat in comfortable silence, watching a barge slowly move up the river, carrying timber north. Will you ever forgive him? Amira asked. Violetta considered it. No. But I don't think about him anymore. That's better than forgiveness. Amira nodded. I think about him less every day. One day, I won't think about him at all. When that day comes, Violetta said, that's when you'll know you're free. A year later, the cottage looked different. Amira painted the shutters green, her favorite color. She planted flowers along the path. Behind the house, a garden grew: tomatoes, cucumbers, dill, everything a Russian garden needs. Violetta came with the children. Timofey carried a bag of barbecue meat. Elizaveta held a cake. "Are you ready?" Violetta asked. Amira met them at the door. "Welcome home." They ate outside at a long wooden table, watching the Volga flow past, eternal and indifferent, carrying memories away toward the sea. Yanis Kulyakov lived alone in his small apartment. He paid his debts, saw his children, worked. And every time he drove past the turn toward Podgori, he remembered what he had lost: his wife, both women, the cottage, his life. But the river didn't care. The birch trees didn't care. And the two women he had betrayed sat on his porch, drinking tea, watching the water flow, building something new from the ruins he left behind. Trust your intuition when something feels wrong. Those quiet doubts are your soul trying to protect you. Document everything, because paper never lies and never forgets. And remember, the other woman is not your enemy. She is the ally you haven't met yet. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, like, share, and subscribe to the channel.